The cosmetic industry creates the insecurity, the idea that you shouldn't have one wrinkle, that you shouldn't have one freckle, that you should be perfect. It's a false reality, but it's created beautifully by the industry.
We've sucked women in for, however many years now, a century or more, with our lives, and now we're going to do it to you.
I started wearing makeup for dancing concerts when I was 3.
Yeah.
And then...
Like 5. But now, going out on just, outings and stuff, around this age or something.
Yeah. If you wear jeans, you don't put that much on. You just put a bit of, eyeliner and blush. And then if you're going out with
a dress
you wear more eyeshadow and lipstick, darker lip gloss. And
you wear more than you would if you were going to a fete or a friend's house or something.
We've got magazines for little girls now, Barbie magazine. There's, little girl cosmetics in those magazines, lots of stuff about looking good. The girls are all done up. They've got hair curled and, pretty little pink lips and cheeks. And so they get you early. They're getting us earlier and earlier. The 5-year-old needs to look 12. The 12-year-old needs to look 17. The 17-year-old wants to look probably 25. And beyond that, nobody wants to look 26 to 66.
It made me feel like I was much older than I am. When I looked in the mirror, it made me look like I was older, it wasn't me, sort of. And yeah, it feels a bit unusual first, but you sort of get used to it a bit.
Well, when I started wearing makeup when I was little, I didn't really like it because I used to think, I used to always play with my face and scratch it. It used to get a bit annoying and
itchy.
Yeah.
Magazines rely heavily, if not almost exclusively, on the revenue that they get from cosmetics advertising.
What a lot of readers don't realise is that the more ads we get, the bigger the book size we can have. So, you get a lot of girls that come in going, oh, there's just so many ads in magazines these days, but, I always try to explain, yeah, but you know what, the more ads, the more editorial pages we can have.
I read Girlfriend or Dolly and I see advertisements for Max Factor for lashes and things. I think it's just better for the look, and that just tips me.
My section is comprised of about 7 pages, give or take. They're all beauty related, so hair, skin, makeup. I was at Cosmo Extensions. They have a hair and beauty mag, so I had worked on that a little bit. I'd seen how being a beauty editor works from working with the beauty editor there. I knew how stuff got sent in and how to go about being a beauty editor, but not set beauty instruction. I hadn't really been taught how to apply makeup specifically or anything like that.
Cosmetic companies feel that they deserve cooperation from the magazines because they're spending so much money on advertisements. So they think, well, we should get compatible editorial. So that's why you never or very rarely will see any kind of critical articles about cosmetics in magazines. They will most always be biased editorial support for beauty products, so you don't really get the full story about what these things do or don't do.
Often when products get sent in, they come with a funny gift of some sort, I think mainly just to grab our attention so we remember the product. And some of the strange and wacky things I've been sent lately is my floaty that clearly I'll be making the most of a lot this summer at the beach. Very interesting looking Christmas tree. I have my lovely little pinball machine that came just recently with all lip glosses inside it. my frisbee. I also got sent an enormous big glass, martini glass, which is about half my height. And I think the tag for that was size does matter. Someone had just enlarged their shampoos and conditioners. So just cute ideas like that, that people think of when they send in the product. And it makes my job that much more fun.
And it's a story of a model I worked with who we'll call Sasha, who was chosen in a casting session out of probably a few hundred people. And we were doing a campaign for a hosiery company. And so the brief was that the person had to be at least 6 foot tall and have legs up to their chin and not 1 ounce of fat on their body. And over the course of shooting with her, I got to know her quite well. And then she expressed the fact that she'd had an eating disorder to the degree she was anorexic and bulimic that she ended up in hospital and she almost died. When the shots were taken and they were viewed by the panel from the hosiery company and the advertising agency, there was a comment that her thighs were too big. And so they airbrushed them even more. And she basically looked like someone that hadn't had a meal for months. So I wondered really, what Sasha would think if she'd gone into David Jones or a department store and seen the photograph on the cover of that hosiery packet and looked at her body, which was in fairly healthy shape when I met her, airbrushed to a point where she looked the same as she did when she was in that hospital bed. It's so easy to look at someone else and wish that you were them, but when you're in their body, it can be a completely different thing.
My best advice would be to experiment. I think that the best way for girls to learn how to apply their makeup well is just to play with everything and textures and what feels right on your skin. And I think they have a good idea of what looks right and what looks wrong. They are so celeb aware and they're looking at celeb pictures all the time and catwalk shots as well in magazines. So I think they know what they're supposed to look like. So I really encourage girls to experiment and then they can see what suits them and what doesn't.
So when you look at like the movie stars, you think, oh, that's like a nice eyeshadow with that type of colour, and it goes well.
Yeah, and that's the same in magazines. There's pictures of movie stars and you see them with makeup on and you think, oh, that looks really good, so you try it.
They know this girl, who they are, but then they go to being something else. They change. And who is that girl going to be? And who is that young woman going to be? So there's this time when their identity is changing. And I think that's a real danger period for girls, teenage girls, because, if they get bombarded with the cultural idea of who they're supposed to be rather than who they truly are, then, they spend the next decade or two trying to fit into what they think they're supposed to be.
I mean, all you need to do is look in, weekly magazines to see the very shocking statistics or the very shocking images of young girls who are desperately thin. And unfortunately, thin and unhealthily thin is in, and it's quite shocking and quite scary. The women of Australia are looking at these images, and it does affect their self-esteem and it does affect their body image, and this was uncovered through the survey that we conducted. Only 8% of Australian women said that they were satisfied with their physical attractiveness, and furthermore, only 14% of Australian women said that they were satisfied with their face and their facial attractiveness. And that's scary because these women are looking at images presented in the media and trying to achieve that look without realising that a lot of these images have been airbrushed and photoshopped, and they aren't really what the people look like.
Certainly the ones who are very interested in makeup are also very interested in cosmetics in general, so they've got all the latest cleansing creams and moisturisers and eye creams, and whatever's the latest fad or the newest product they will race out and buy.
Using creams like Strivectin, I think it's partly the luxury goods phenomenon. If you run yourself a hot bath and you put some really nice bubble bath in, obviously that's going to make you feel better than having a hot bath with nothing in it. It's about sort of looking after yourself, pampering yourself, making yourself feel special. And to use a cream like Strivectin, that does actually feel quite nice when you put it on. Plus, you know, it's a bit more expensive, it's got a bit of kudos.
One of my volunteers recently asked me what I knew about Strivectin, which is a cream that is said to have wrinkle-reducing benefits and purported to be better than Botox. And of course, Botox is an injectable wrinkle treatment. And I actually didn't know anything about Strivectin, so I went to the medical literature and performed a search to find out some more information for her. And what I found was that there's been a study published this year in 2006, which was undertaken in Florida, and this involved 77 female subjects. They were randomly allocated into 5 groups. One group received injectable Botox, one group received placebo compound, and the 3 remaining groups received topical wrinkle-reducing creams, of which Strivectin was one. And the results of the study were that Botox, not surprisingly, caused a significant improvement in wrinkle severity. However, the 3 topical compounds performed less well than placebo, and certainly less well than the Botox. And in addition to that, there were 3 adverse events noted in the Strivectin group in the study.
You know, you justify it by saying it's maintenance and, you know, I'm investing in my future. But I think it's really like anything, whether you buy a nice pair of shoes or a nice handbag, it's the same as buying a nice sort of range of skincare. It's really, I think you're probably buying into a bit of a dream in a way.
In cosmeceuticals, you don't really have to have the evidence there to make the claim, so with marketing, the regulatory organisations want more and more that, you know, everything they claim is substantiated, but at the moment they're not that hard at enforcing the regulations, and it's usually up to other members of the industry to sort of appeal against someone else's marketing or advertising claims, or they have very soft evidence, or the type of evidence that wouldn't usually persuade a medical person that it's of value. And I'd have to say, if something is of proven value, it's going to become a pharmaceutical rather than a cosmetic. So if you really want to find out what's going to help prevent ageing, a lot of those things only come on prescription in Australia.
Some friends of mine really truly believe that the designer brands are the best. They wouldn't be seen dead wearing a less expensive brand, perhaps something you could buy in the supermarket as opposed to the department stores. And they really do seem to believe that it's a sign of wealth. They don't really care whether or not they're doing anything for you. They just want to be able to say that they have them and have got the entire range.
I think what happens is, you know, the young woman's set up for this inevitable failure. Nobody is ever going to be perfect, not even the models, and they know that because they know what's been done to their image to make it perfect. And this leads to, you know, dissatisfaction, but it leads to low self-esteem, and the idea that I'll never be good enough. I'll never be good enough, no matter what I do. I mean, I think the product lets them down instantly. So that adds to the failure that, well, I've still got my wrinkles, you know.
With women, when, you know, they get dressed in the morning and put on their makeup, or they might put the moisturiser on, a lot of that's not really about vanity. Some of it's just practical, that you know, if you have dry skin, you put your cream on. But I think a lot of it's just insecurities, that most women don't put on lipstick to necessarily impress anybody, but more just about making themselves feel better or giving themselves a confidence, or, you put a bit of blusher on and you feel like you can sort of, it's in a way it's having a mask that you can face the world with. And it just gives you a bit of, maybe it's confidence or just something that you don't feel if people judge you, it's not going to be so harsh in a way. And I mean, there are obviously people who are vain, but I think a lot of it is just really keeping the insecurities at bay.
The Dollar Youth Monitor that we've recently commissioned was every 2 years we run this study, and every 2 years we ask the kids who is a role model in your life. And in years gone by, it's always been a celebrity, whether it's Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera or a celebrity, a Kylie Minogue, somebody like that. Whereas this year it came back as mum.
Yeah, and like maybe even when you see your mum wear makeup, like you think you get because they wear makeup every day to make them look good.